it's Christy. Welcome to another card making video on my channel. Today is an extra special video because I am helping my dear friend Carrie celebrate 2,000 subscribers on her YouTube channel. So I'm taking part in this video hop, and I'm going to be using this Lawn Fawn set here called Fairy Friends, as well as the Gleeful Gardens and the Gnome Sweet Gnome, just some different elements from those sets. I love how well these sets play together. So to begin, I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to be coloring these little fairies. There are a lot of elements on this card that I'll be using, and I just don't have time on this video to color them all, but I thought these three would be the most interesting elements to color, so I'm going to go ahead with them. For the first two fairies, I'll be using a lighter skin tone, so I'm using E21 and E000. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do darkest to lightest on most of the images on this card today, just because the spaces to color in are very small. And if I were to begin lightest and then go to darkest and then blend back out with my lightest, it might oversaturate the paper and I'd have some bleed out. So I'm going to go darkest to lightest, just coloring in the shadowed areas first, and then blending those out a little bit with the lighter color. And if the darker color gets too far blended out, like it did on this first fairy, I'll just go back in and repeat those colors so I have an extra layer. So I'm going to grab my R20 for a little blush on their cheeks there, just dabbing in a very little bit of color so they look nice and rosy. And then I'm going to grab E55 and E53 for my third fairy. I just wanted her to have a little bit of a darker skin tone. So I'm beginning with that E55 in the shadowed areas and then blending out with the E53. The E53 has a nice peachy undertone to it, so it really works well for kind of a mid skin tone. So just finish her up. And then I'm going to grab the R20 again and give her some rosy cheeks as well. And then I'm going to begin coloring the hair for my first fairy, and I'm going to make her a blonde. So Y32 is going to be my lightest shade, and then Y26 my mid-tone, and Y28 my darkest shade. Now, I have told you guys before that I am not an expert in hair. I tend to color critters. I don't have a lot of people stamps, so I haven't had a lot of practice. So these fairies are going to be great for just expanding my skills with hair. So what I'm doing is I'm basically just going from the crown of her head where that bun is, and I'm just flicking in some streaks, and I'm going lightest to darkest and then back down to lightest again. And then that kind of gives you the look of the hair strands and has some highlights and stuff in it, so it looks a little more natural than just a solid color would. So my middle fairy is going to be a redhead. So I picked YR14, YR18, and E19 for my darkest. And once again, just going ahead and stroking in those colors. Now, for this part here, I did accidentally pick up the E19 instead of the YR14, so I just added the YR14 after. It's not a big deal with this kind of image right here for the hair because it's all just flicks of color anyway. My third fairy is going to be a brunette, and I chose E44, E47, and E49 for her hair combo. So once again, just kind of doing that streaky look, lightest to darkest, and then back down to lightest, and that leaves a little bit of highlight to kind of look like natural hair. And if you'll notice, I'm also kind of doing my flicks in the direction of the hair growth to kind of make it look even more natural rather than just going straight forward. I'm kind of curving to the side the way the part goes. And then I also wanted to give the Redheaded Fairy a few little freckles, so I grabbed my YR18 again and just dabbed a couple of those on her cheeks, holding my marker straight up and down and just using the very tip. So moving on to their dresses, I wanted to give them kind of an ombre look. So for the blonde fairy, I'm using RV17, RV14 and RV13, and I'm just going to bring the color down, starting darkest to lightest, and just overlapping the previous color a little bit with the next marker and then blending that out. So I get a really pretty gradient effect. For the Redheaded Fairy, I'm going to use 4 colors: BG18, BG15, BG13, and BG11. And once again, starting darkest to lightest and just fading that out at the bottom. The Brunette Fairy is going to get kind of a dusty purple dress. I have been really in love with this color combo lately. It is V99, V95, V93, and V91. Now there is a lot more colorless blender in the V95 as compared to the V99, so I just will go back over that area a second time and kind of blend the transition between the colors there. For the fairy's wings, I'm using BG10 and BG70. The BG10 is slightly more bluish and the BG70 has a little more of a gray tone. So these two work really well together to give you kind of like an ethereal, almost transparent at the end fairy wings. And then for my little magic wand, I'm just going to go back to some of the yellows that I used. This is the Y32 and the Y28. And then I'm using C3 and C5 for just the wand part. So now I've got all my elements colored and die cut, and I used the new meadow borders for my 2 strips of grass. I did a lighter green and a darker green, and I just stamped my sentiment in the Noble Fur Lawn Fawn ink. So I'm grabbing my card base here, which is MFT Snow Cone, and I'm going to glue my back piece of grass directly to the card front. And the lighter section I'm going to stick on with some foam tape. This is just the Scotch 3M foam tape that I always get in the big roll. So I'm going to attach that so that's popped up. And then I'm just going to start grabbing some of my elements here that I've got set off to the side and just laying out a scene and seeing where I really want everything to go. Some of the elements I'm going to glue flat to the card, and then others I am going to pop up with some foam tape for dimension to make everything look kind of 3D. So I added 2 clouds to my scene. Those are from the Blue Skies stamp set by Lawn Fawn. They were just left over on my desk from another project, so I thought I'd add those in. And then I'm going to add a little fairy house here in the forefront. And then just keep tucking elements in where I think that they look good and create a nice little scene. So now I'm going to add in my little blonde fairy, and I'm going to give her the watering can from Gnome Sweet Gnome so that she can water these clusters of flowers over here on the right. Since my little redheaded fairy is standing, I'm going to put her right here in front of the flowers as well. And then I'll just tuck in a few little green shoots from Gleeful Gardens. And then my last little brunette fairy is going to go up in the sky on the left. And I'm going to give her a little magic wand so she can be helping these little flowers grow behind the little fairy house. And you can't have fairies without glitter, so I'm going to grab my Wink of Stella and give a coat of that to the fairy's wings and the magic wand. So that completes our card for today. Please check out Stephanie. She's going to be next, and I'm sure she's going to have something completely wonderful for you. And don't forget to stop by Carrie's YouTube channel. She's the first one on the hop, and I know she's got lots of prizes for you guys and all kinds of good stuff. So you definitely want to check out her video and congratulate her. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you missed my last video, it's there for you on the screen right now. You can just go ahead and click the little video clip and it'll take you right to it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.